Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have Crystal on today. Please tell us about your journey, and we'd love to know, did business or motherhood come first?
Yeah, great question. So I have worked in the post-secondary sector for about 15 years, working in higher education up here in Canada. And I've always had this itch of like the impact that I have on campus is amazing and rewarding, but I know I can feel that impact beyond campus. But I never could figure out who that was for or what that was for. I knew it was women. I knew it was like women in a similar situation to me, but like I would try different things, try to be entrepreneurial, side hustly every now and then, but nothing really felt right in my core. And then it wasn't until I became a mom that I was like, "Ooh, that's the hardest job I've ever had, and those are the women I want to help." And it really came together. So I have a almost 3-year-old now, which is exciting and horrifying at the same time. When he came into this world, and once I got through the fog of the early postpartum days, I was like, okay, I want to do stuff for moms because we need all the help we can get
Oh,
and
yeah.
we need to build each other up and support each other. So the itch was finally scratched and I kind of finally figured out, okay, I'm still working on campus. I still have a wonderful job here. But my entrepreneurial spirit is has come to life since becoming a mom.
I love that. And was there a certain event that happened while you were in your transition to motherhood that was like, oh, this is what was like the turning point?
Right. I guess there's kind of like two. So everyone in my circle, I'm always building communities. I'm always bringing people together. Um, we're always seeing like Crystal, like you need to do this. Like Crystal, like tapping me. Then in probably even just January, like this year, 2024 is the year. I went to an event for entrepreneurs, not thinking I was one. I was there to support another friend. I like dragged her to it. And I was like, you need to come to this. You need to be around these people. And I left that event just so lit up and so inspired. Um, and serendipity just happened to line up that the very next day I had a play date with one of my mom friends. And as always, like we were trying to have real conversations and we were trying to, actually connect. And she proposed this idea that had been on her heart forever about running events for moms where we can get together without our kids. So her opening up that conversation and us starting to do that was like one of the branches. And then my husband and I, a New Year's resolution that we set, or like an intention, was that we wanted to launch a podcast this year together. And then when Something Beyond Mom started and the podcast started taking shape, because my husband and I launched our podcast as a way to reconnect. Because as you know, it's impossible to talk to your spouse also, because all you talk about is diaper changes and nap times and everything else. So our podcast truly was just a passion project so that we could have some time talking about something else. And we were talking about all this stuff with our friends anyways. So we're like, why not press record? So both of those things happened in January 2024. And here we are.
Yeah. You started off the year with a bang with your entrepreneurial journey, and that is so exciting. It is such a time of refresh in January. Like the new year gives you such energy and excite
Yes.
to plan things. And I love that you did the podcast stemming from a place of let's reconnect,
Yeah.
not let's be famous or let's make all this money off of it. Like let's reconnect and then invite people to listen in.
Yeah. We said, like, even if like our moms listen once and our friends listen twice, then we've checked the box. Like we've done it, right? Then like that for us, like we accomplished something, we put the work into it. It was so funny. Like you always say, right? Like, yeah, the new year is this new refresh. And I bought this beautiful green coat and I had this amazing green blazer that I wore to that event. And it just kind of felt like I was like, this is my year of green. Like it's like growth. Maybe it's money. I don't know what it is. And neither one of my things are making any money. But like, I thought, like, I just felt like it was like my year of green. And I was like, I'm going to be green because like I say, I've been in the higher ed sector for 15 years. I know what I'm doing here, but then ask me what I'm doing running events and having a podcast. Like it was all learning. It was all new. So that green coat also, like I felt like just like that was my energy into the year.
Oh, I love that your green coat was such a good thing to look back on. I
Yeah.
feel like when I buy stuff, it like solidifies my commitment to something.
I like that. Yeah.
And so you had your son
Yes.
and you came up with this business idea with a friend during a play date. But then is there anything that happened between the idea to the growth phase that really pushed you? Like, did you have a moment where someone came up to you and said, this is exactly what I needed?
I definitely think like that's what like when we launched, a lot of friends were like, "You're actually talking about things that no one's talking about, and like thank you for doing it. Thank you for not being, afraid to be vulnerable." Like we interviewed a sex therapist a few weeks ago because I was like, "Yeah, like I want to touch my husband." Okay, how do we deal with that? Um, we had a whole conversation about like adult friendships, and it's so hard, right? Like your
Yes.
friends change. You have kids, some people don't. It changes. Like all these different things, right? We've been getting a lot of that. Like, thank you for just like actually creating the space for what we're looking for, having the conversation that maybe we're afraid to have, but like bringing light to some of these things, or just reminding us of things that we know we need to think about and do. Like we did an episode on our trip to New York. We went for my husband's 40th birthday. It was our big trip, first trip away as parents. And so many people were like, oh my gosh, like, yes, like when was the last time I actually had more than 3 hours, with my significant other to,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? And how hard it is to actually, if you just, a date night's amazing and necessary, but it takes like 2 days to actually like turn off mom mode.
Right.
Right? So, like, it was like a lot of people have also said to us, like, "Thanks for the reminder that, like, we do need to push into the discomfort a little bit to get to that part."
Absolutely. And it's hard when you don't have the support system to
Yes.
watch your children. So you got to be creative. And it seems like you have a support system with parents nearby, but before the podcast, was there a moment where you both looked at each other and were like, we need more time together? Is that what maybe inspired it more? Because you guys just felt like you were going through the roommate phase a little bit?
Yeah, total roommate phase, and, like, I always like to give that caveat with the events and with the podcast, like, we are so lucky. I'm an only child, so my parents, the moment they heard grandbabies, they ran, they picked up, they moved, they were like, "We are there." So we are very, very lucky that they're so close, because my husband's family lives on the other side of the country, so, like, we don't have them ever. So we know how lucky we are to have that, and it's not easy, and you have to be creative, and you have to do it, um, but we really always felt but even before Cole was born, we don't wanna just be parents.
Enhance.
So, like, how can we carve out that identity, right? Like, our work is very important to us. We had kids later in life, right? Like, we have a 3-year-old and we're 40. Like, so, right? Our careers are very important to us. We don't wanna lose that. We have formed an identity in the community. We don't wanna lose that. We want parent to be part of our identity, but for the first 2 years, we were like, "Oops," like, all we are is parents, right? Like, all we are is parents, and we were like, "Oh, we're gonna go on a date night every week. We're gonna do all the things," and then, like I said, I was like, "I don't wanna be near you. I don't wanna talk to anyone. I don't wanna be touched." So even though the help was there,
Not
I don't even know if I wanted it at first. So, like, we definitely, even though we had all these aspirations of what we thought it was gonna be, the moment, like it's like these switches flip in you, right? Like when you become a mom, like all those maternal instincts switched on. And I was like, never mind. Nothing else matters other than this small human. Like I must do everything for him. And my husband was like, wait a second. I have any switches. Like, what do you mean? We're supposed to be like doing all the things still, Crystal. And I was like, see you in a few years. Sorry. Like I can't right now. And now that he's almost 3, I'm like, okay, like he is a functioning human being now.
a lot.
Is he now a toddler who falls off ladders? Yes. So I still need to care about him. But like I now feel like I can have a little space and bring back to me who I want to be as a mom. And I'm a better mom now, which is amazing because of all these other pieces. But yeah, I think it took some time to get there and actually lean into the help at first.
Absolutely. And I felt like 3 was also my sweet spot age. So I have a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, and 4-month-old.
Oh,
And my 3-year-old is starting to really become her own person. She get independent play a little bit more. It's been so much more like, okay, now there's room for me to do things now because she can handle things on her own.
yeah.
Obviously, she's still a child, but I felt like it couldn't been when she was potty trained. I
Yeah.
that's when I had some freedom because I
Yeah.
wasn't. in her diaper all the time. So that was one less part of my day of sitting down, changing, sitting down, changing.
Yes. Yeah, the freedom of no diapers, like, I didn't realize what a game changer that would be.
I did water and snacks and extra underwear, and we're good.
And we're
Uh,
good.
the freedom of just
The
like,
freedom. And,
sure,
like, garbage, right? Like, I don't have to worry, do I have too many bags of garbage every other week? Like, I don't know where it's like where you live, we are very regimented here. So, I'm like, "Oh, we had a big diaper week, looks like we can't throw out the trash."
oh my gosh, we go through so much trash with the three. So at one point, all three of them were in diapers,
Oh,
kind of
yeah. I can't imagine.
what it's like. Now it's more so like if she doesn't have something, we'll figure it out.
Well,
But
that's I think the headspace that comes with this, right? Like, yeah, not needing to worry about everything being so perfectly lined up because you do realize like you could just figure it out. I was so white knuckled about, oh, I don't have a structured nap time. Like he naps when he naps, but gosh forbid he misses a nap. Like I could never let that happen. So just being willing to like go with it. Like I'm like, no wonder I actually have creative ideas again because my head is not just filled with like the mom math. It's the mental exhaustion and the monotony of it, right? Like Matt Lee was not my best friend. Like the monotony Matt and I was very much like we have to get out of this house every day. I am a joiner, so we are joining activities, we are getting into programs. But like the monotony of that plus like all the mental load, like I was like, just send me back to work. I'm like, please, like I did not love that phase of our life.
it's interesting because motherhood has its beautiful moments while you're in the fog.
Yeah,
I A large part of that is because now you're focused on all of their things, and that is beautiful because it's fleeting. But you do lose a large part of yourself, and then you have to refine. You have to rediscover yourself. You have to
yeah.
rediscover your partner because you were. I remember my husband and I for 6 months. It was good morning, have a good day at work. We did our stuff done like today, and then it's good night. It
Yep.
was that on and I was I we had one kid and I was pregnant with my second.
Oh jeez.
It wasn't even like we were all the way in it, but we were going through some moving and he would go through a job change and then I was about to have another baby. And so I was also just like we're just going through it. And my girls are Irish twins, so they're a year apart a year and 4 days apart. So
Goodness.
her first birthday on like a Saturday. That following Monday I had my daughter.
Oh my goodness. Like how you even got there, I don't understand. I'm like, "Well, that's crazy."
And so imagine like we were just like on in parent mode. And then as soon as we thought we might have gotten a grip, we had another baby. So it's just like on and on. And I never, during the first 2 years, could have imagined leaving my kids, even just for
Right.
my never. And I think if I would have also partially been a little bit braver to reach out to people and been like, I think I could probably use an hour to myself. I don't know what I need to do, but I need to try it. Even then, when it came back in a half hour, it doesn't matter. Like at least just attempting. I felt if I would have had that bravery, we could have been in a different mindset and have been a little bit better energy in the house. Uh, did you remember your first time like leaving and being like, oh God,
Oh yeah. In that I think it was like the first week of my son's life, I just needed to get out of the house, right? Like I was like, okay, like I just need and I truly was driving like a block and a half to pick up pizza and like that was gonna be my big thing. Like,
huh?
okay, I can do this. I'm leaving him. We had just got through like the first cluster feed. So like my hormones were everywhere. And I got in the car sitting in the driveway and I was like hyperventilating crying. I'm like, I can't do I was like still in the driveway and I was like, no, I have to. Like, this is absurd. Come on, Crystal. I'm like, I can see enough through the tears. Like, it's fine. I can drive. And called my husband as I was driving and I'm hyperventilating crying. He's like, what? Did you crash? Like, what happened? I'm like, I can't leave him. I can't do it. And he's like, where are you? And I was like, still like on our street. He was like, okay, like, keep driving, get the pizza. You can do this. And that memory is like forever blazed into my head. But then probably a month into his life, I like booked a hair appointment, booked a nail appointment. The
Well,
girls who like own the salon that do my hair and nails like are two of my amazingly good friends. And I was like, that feels safe. Like I can go be with them. I can be just a shell of a human there and I will like pour into me a little bit. And I just remember like I took pictures that day that I posted on Instagram, and you can just see like the light in my eyes for the first time. And they were so great. And like my husband brought my son at the end of the appointment so they could meet him. And like that, just like knowing how much that filled me up, I was like, okay, I have to do this more,
Right.
even though it's so hard. Cause like I was probably there for 3 hours and I probably cried for 2.5 of the hours with them just because of like everything going on. And they were so gracious to just cry with me. Um, but I was like, okay, this felt so good, even though it was so hard.
Oh, yeah. And that's right. It can be hard, but it can also feel really good and exciting to fill your cup back up. And also, I think we lose self-care
Oh yeah.
during first month and a half. Maybe, okay, honestly, maybe the first year of their life.
I was
Like,
just gonna say 6 to
uh,
12 months. Yeah.
I remember being postpartum and like a shower felt like too much time away from my child.
Mhm.
Which it wasn't. It was just like, okay, now I got to get up, figure out how, I think it was like when my husband was home, it was fine because like I had someone with him. But like taking a shower when I hadn't put him in a bassinet, I was like, okay, now you should just probably just do it. Like rip the band off, go to take a shower. It's gonna take 15 minutes if you just take a quick one, when enough to do what you need to do. And it felt like a lot. It felt heavy. And even like putting on clothes again did not like doing it.
No.
Like, nothing fit right, nothing fit well in a way that I felt confident in myself again. I mean, that full mind
Oh yeah. True.
I want to touch more about this mom guilt because I know this is going to be something that is endlessly talked about because we are always struggling with it no matter what phase we're in.
Yeah.
There's the thing to feel guilty about. What's the first thing that comes to your mind other than self-care?
What first comes up to me is like, oh, well, I think that's the feeling I feel when I think of mom guilt. Um, I think like when I think about the events that we organize for moms, like there's also like that is self care, but it's also just realizing again that you are a person that is more than just a mother, right? So like when you're not recognizing that that woman still needs to be taken care of, not just by having a shower,
Yeah.
but by having adult conversations, by not just going and getting your nails done, but by, whatever it is like that fills your cup. Is it fitness? Is it a hobby? Is it an activity? When we have this mom guilt thinking that we shouldn't have those pieces, someone said to me early on, and I really like it, really stuck with me. What is the example that you want your son or your children to see of what a mom is, right? Our generation of moms, like our moms, now the grandmas, were so selfless, but that painted a picture for us of like that's what motherhood should be. Like
Um,
all you are is a mom. And my mom's a social butterfly. It's shocking. Where do I get that from? But she never had any hobbies. She had some friends that she hung out with, but I was her hobby, right? And I'm so thankful. The relationship I have with my mom now is incredible that she did that, like took time off work to be with me, did all sorts of things. I played competitive fastball growing up. Like my dad coached me. My mom was at every game. I'm so thankful for that, but I was their hobby. Like
yeah.
I want my son to be like, oh, look at that. Like my son comes to watch me play baseball still because I still play baseball in a women's recreational league now that I happen to be the president of. How I have time, I don't know. But like, I love that, right? Like he can see that, like, oh, like mom has things she cares about and mom has things that are important to her and she has friends and she contributes to the community and she does these things, right? Like, I don't want him to think that that's not a thing. Like, I want that to be normal. So I
What?
think when we feel this mom guilt that we shouldn't do any of that because we just have to be there for them, I think is actually doing a disservice, especially if you have little girls. Like, but also, like, right, like little boys need to see that too, that their parents, both parents, whatever your family situation looks like. I think that we want to model that for our kiddos so that when they're the next generation, they're even better than we are because we're the ones trying to like unlearn all these things.
Right. I feel like we're constantly unlearning. And it's not that someone did us wrong, but there's other ways to do things. And there's things that you want to set up for your children and your family.
Yeah.
And you have to unlearn what you're maybe used to. My parents are very similar. My dad worked a lot, and he also built our house from the ground up, basically a lot of childhood. So he was busy working, building, and then he also was like doing night school. So that man was doing a lot.
Uh-huh.
And all I ever saw my dad do was work. And then my mom was only a mom. I mean, she stayed at home with us, and my brother and I are both deaf. So she also was like full force, taking us to appointments, taking us to groups where we could meet other people like us and experience things and never miss out. And so, like, her mama was like even more
Oh,
with
I bet.
abilities and learning that. And so now I sometimes feel guilty when I leave my kids. My husband and I try to go on date nights like every other week, and that sometimes feel like a lot. That feels like a lot, but literally 2 days out of 30, that's not it.
Work. And it is an unlearning, and it is like we're like kind of like making new conventions, and that's the thing. Like same thing. I feel nothing. I think my parents did incredible. Like I couldn't be more thankful for what they did for me and how they did it. Because at the time, that's how they did it. Like with everything in the way that when all my mom does is give my son chocolate chip cookies. Like it's not the way I want to feed him, but it's right based on what she knows and who she is as a grandma. I try really hard to be mindful of that. Like, yeah, like at the time, that's what made sense. And
No.
even though it's different now, like, you know what I mean? I hold no ill will against any of that. Like, I just want to know. I don't think she did it wrong. Like you said, it's at that time what they knew. And I just, I want to do it different.
And we also have to do things different with the way the world is now too. So it's not necessarily all bad, right? We definitely are dealing with things our parents didn't deal with.
True.
And it's a lot more isolating now
Oh,
than it
yeah.
used to be, but also not. It's isolating differently.
Yeah. We're connected on these good old things over here, these lovely screens that we look at all the time.
Let's dive into this a little bit more because I know you said it earlier. You you were like, at one point, you were like, I can't wait to go back to work, and I know as I was talking to you before the podcast too, like you mentioned that working, you became a better mom being a working mom.
Mhm.
So let's dive into that a little bit.
Because I love my job so much, like that was part of it. Like
Okay.
if you would have asked me the day before I went on mat leave if I wanted a mat leave, I would have said no. I would have been like, can someone else take care of this small human for me? Because I have things to take care of over here. Like I really was not interested in taking time away from work. Because at the time, that was probably the most fulfilling part of my life.
On it.
It's also part of the reason that I'm one and done though. Like I don't want to step away again. Like I feel like our unit is full and one is more than enough work. But I definitely felt that I think it actually goes both ways. So like being a mom has made me better at work and being at work makes me a better mom. So the reason for that is I'm a better mom because of work, because I actually look forward to the time now that I get to spend with my son.
Mhm.
And I'm not so burnt out of the games and the songs and the monotony that is. And like we said, obviously the first few years are a little bit more of that. And it's getting more interesting because now I can have a conversation with a 3-year-old and there's reciprocity in the play now. I'm not just playing at him. It's a little bit more engaging. But even still, I can only play trucks for so long and really want to do that. So like I really look forward to like even if it's only an hour and a half in the morning, maybe 2 hours at night, and then our weekends, like, I wanna pour myself fully into that time in a different way. It's not like I'm, like, itching for a break from it. I still need my Saturday morning breaks, and that's something that my husband and I have instituted. So even on a weekend, I need time that's not just at work as well, obviously, but I think I'm a better mom because I'm like, "Oh, I look so forward to picking him up from daycare and getting that time together and going for a bike ride after dinner and having that space." So I definitely think I'm a better mom because of work.
That's kind of a refreshing approach because I talked to so many moms that are just solely entrepreneurs and they talk about things a little bit differently because work is at home and there's
Mhm.
not separation and there's not that I get to leave and come back. Now, some people don't want that, and that's completely fine. Some people wish they had it. And sometimes I wish I just had at least 2 to 3 hours, always guaranteed every day.
Yeah.
Well, certainly, like, it doesn't have to be at the same time every day, but like 2 or 3 hours, I know for a fact I can sit in a room by myself and sometimes work, sometimes not. And that feels great, but it's not happening yet because everything's together in the same house and the same roof. But it's nice to know that you also like your job. It's something you look forward to, because I hear so much about people dreading going back to work because they also don't like work. And that's so sad, right? If they would rather come with their babies, you wish that they could, right?
Totally. And I think like obviously like in Canada versus in the States, like our mat leave is longer. Like you guys, kudos to all of you ladies down in south. Like you deserve so much more. It's not set up in any way. I don't think that our society is set up to like support mom, and we have
Yeah.
things much more than what you guys have. I do love my job so much. And I think as entrepreneurs, I can definitely understand how, yeah, like it's harder to carve it out. And it doesn't have the same like kind of structure, right? Like the
Right.
corporate world makes it like I have to do this, which almost gives you permission. Something that I like my husband and I had mentioned that like we at first committed to the fact that he would get every Sunday morning to himself, right? Because he was like working a 60-hour work week, having to like come home and be dad the moment he got home. And it was like really hard and he was getting burnt out. So for him, we were like, okay, every Sunday morning, like you get just time for you. Not dad, not work, just time for you. And I would go and like Saturday mornings, like maybe go to the gym, maybe book an appointment for something, but then rush home so fast.
Yes.
But then I realized I'm starting to feel resentful because like, why am I rushing home? Right? Like, why don't I have like a block for me that is not work, that is not mom? Right. So now that's something that we've been doing probably for maybe it'll be about a year now.
Oh,
So
wow.
like every Saturday morning, like if I choose, and same thing with him, if he chooses, like we signed our son up for soccer this summer and the only available time slot was Saturday mornings at 9. So I was like, okay, I will sometimes come to soccer because I want to do that. But then as soon as soccer is done, like, see you guys later. Guilt free. I will be gone until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And whether I use that productively or not, or what, like, I fill it how I want. And I know I don't have to think about when I'm coming back to. I know it's taken care of. And then same thing for Sunday mornings for my husband. And that has been a game changer for us.
Let's bring back to the rushing home thing. I was doing that. I still do that, but it's like, why? No one texting me. No one told me I had to be home at a certain time. Sometimes I put a time on myself. I say to my husband, "Oh, I'll be home in an hour. It's not going to take long." He's not forcing me to be home in an hour. It's actually going to take more than an hour, and I'm going to rush through it.
That's the mom guilt. Thank you, mom guilt. That's what that is.
Right. And it's awful.
Yep. It's all in our own heads and it's all right. Same thing. Like I'd be like, oh, it would be great if I could go to one more store, or it'd be great if I could, fit this in as well. Or maybe I drive out of town to see a friend for lunch. Like, right. But then we put it on ourselves to be like, oh no, I could not, like, God forbid my husband is an equal parent, and he is. He's so capable and so able to do this. But right,
Ow!
like you will survive. And I look at like some of my friends, like not all dads are created equal, and I think some of
Right.
them still live maybe in some old school times that are coming around to that. And whether that, like, whatever your co-parent situation is, I think sometimes it's not always that way. But I think there is kind of a new generation too of this like co-parent, the way that we can do this equally. Because he was like, yeah, we're like, I'm taking Cole to the park. I'm doing this like whatever we're doing, right? Um, so there would be times I'd rush home and they wouldn't even be there. Like, what have I done?
You're right. The times have been changing. I feel like dads are more, it's now the normal, and it's now seen as the way it's supposed to be when dads come in and are equal with their partner in terms of the duties of raising the children that they have together. Like,
Right?
it's not like we birthed these babies by ourselves and decided to take care of them by ourselves.
We
We,
birthed them by ourselves, but they were like,
we didn't sign up to do it all
no,
alone. Yeah.
no,
And that's kind of what the situation was like. They're like, I bring home the paycheck, you take care of everything else. And so now more so mom, or I feel like there's a lot more working moms than before too.
yeah,
So there's more of like we're both bringing in money. So what's the excuse now?
yep,
And I feel like I said this on another podcast too, but more dads are changing diapers now more than ever. There's
yeah,
a, there was a stat that was like 90% or 80, it was a huge number of percent of dads are said they have changed a diaper, within this generation versus last generation. It was like such a sad number. It was like single digits. Oh, awful.
I
Aw-
said to my husband again, all this like pre-Crystal, all pre-mom Crystal. Like I said, before I knew that there was going to be all these maternal instincts that I couldn't turn off, we were at the hospital and I was like, okay, let's make a deal. If I breastfeed successfully or pump or do whatever, like if I take care of the feeding, you're going to change all the diapers. And my husband was like, I don't know if that's realistic, but sure. Like, why are you so opposed to changing the diapers? I was like, I just think it's going to be a lot of work to have to nurse, to have to pump. And I was like, so I just want an equal trade off. Like, so you tell me, like, can we sign on to that? And within the first like 48 hours of our son's life, I was like, well, that's not going to work. But there's too many diapers to change. But to him, he was just like, that was a no brainer. Like, obviously, he's going to do all these things. And when we were thinking about, yeah, like the 3 hour rotation that you have to do when they're first born, my husband was able to take a month off work at the beginning, which was amazing. Such a gift, such a gift. And until he went back to work, we were like, okay, like, if you're nursing every 3 hours, because we were lucky to have a successful nursing journey, he was like, however long it takes to get through the feeding, like, and then I'm like, I'll stay with him. And then, yeah, we'll trade off. Then you do the next 3 hour. Like, great. Like, we actually like swapped back and forth. And he was like, of course, like, why would I not do?
That's such a beautiful thing that you found that thing that works for you guys. You got into like this momentum with it too.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because you get into momentum and then regressions hit or like,
Then they throw a curveball at you. As soon as you have it figured out, then they're like, never mind, mom. I'm going to throw the curveball at you and you can do something different now.
I remember telling my mom, I jinxed myself one time. I was like, oh my gosh, she's sleeping so good. It's been this past week. And I was like, and she knew. And then the next week I was like, she's up every 2 hours again.
You jinx that. No. We have a sleep unicorn, I like to call him. So I shouldn't even like you. I don't even know I will allow you to put this on the podcast. My son has been sleeping through the night since he was 3 months old. He's a unicorn. And like I have been waiting for 3 years for the other shoe to drop, like with so much anticipation of like when will it go away?
Thank you so much for being on today. I would love people to get to know you and connect with you. Can you please tell me where they can do that?
So I am very active in the Instagram world. I have three. I actually have like 6 different Instagram accounts, but I'll give you three. So at Crystal Shadwell is my own account. That's where you're going to see a lot of like cute toddler content and some fun stuff because I am someone who posts a lot about that mom life there. My podcast is at Teen Crew Podcast. That's the podcast that I host with my husband. And even if you can't come to the events, if you're far away at Something Beyond Mom, we also just post a lot of really fun, like mom relatable reels, a lot of funny memes, a lot of funny mom content. That's the third one where you can find me as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm so excited for everyone to get to know you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been so great chatting and it's been a blast. So thank
Right,
you.
plan.